Welcome into Sports Memos Betting Podcast, NFL Every Game on the Board segment with Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome into the pod. How are you?
Hey, great to be here, Drew. Happy Monday, buddy.
Great to have you. Happy Monday to you. Winning weekend for Teddy Covers. And Teddy, let's start breaking down the games. First off, any quick thoughts here on the Monday Nighter for the people listening here on Monday? Dallas at the New York Giants, 48.5 the total. Looks like the Cowboys laying 7 in MetLife.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not even close to getting involved in tonight's game. And the way I tell that I'm not even close is if, all right, give me 2 points on either team. Am I interested? No. I don't want the Cowboys, especially without Van Der Esch, man. That's an impact injury on the defensive side of the football that people aren't talking about. The latest report said that he's not going to play. We remember what happened to Dallas when Sean Lee couldn't play and their point spread dichotomy. And Van Der Esch is that guy on that defense right now. So that's an impact injury for me for the Cowboys. And Dallas has not been a good home favorite in the Garrett era. It's the Giants are alive to come through the back door, et cetera, et cetera. But this is not a Giants defense that I trust. I was able to cash a ticket with the Giants last week. They came in through the back door at Detroit. Wasn't pretty, wasn't easy. And those are the types of covers you're going to get with the Giants and Danny Dimes, who is, I'm not going to call him a turnover machine, but he's a rookie quarterback playing like a rookie quarterback in terms of making mistakes. So Giants aren't a particularly attractive option to me. If I had one bet to make, I might look at Dallas team total over. That makes a little bit of sense, but it's not anything I have to, look, Monday Night Football is what it is. When there's a good bet to make, we'll make it. When there's not, we won't. And I don't see one tonight. So easy pass for me.
All right. Don't chase from Teddy Covers. And Teddy, let's start the opening line report podcast. We got the Thursday nighter, LA Chargers, looking better of late at the Oakland Raiders. And heck, the Raiders are not going to be the Oakland Raiders very much longer here. 48.5 being the total. Chargers -1 as we're talking on the Thursday nighter here, Teddy.
Yeah. So look ahead line. And every week what we do here on the opening line report, I'll give the look ahead line from last week. These are from the Westgate Superbook. Other books do have look-ahead lines for the following week. I use the Westgate lines. Always have, and as long as they keep doing them, I always will. So I'll give the look-ahead line from last week so we can talk about how much a single week's worth of action has impacted the point spread. I'll also give you my power rating number for every game. These are power rating numbers that I make last night after the games are over, and you go through the box scores and you update your numbers. And so, to make a short story long, look headline here was Oakland Pick'em. My powering number is Oakland 2.5, and now the Chargers are taking money this morning. You can tell which way I'm leaning in this ball game initially. Sure, the Chargers back-to-back wins. And you can make a case that their back-to-back wins had everything to do with their opponents and very little to do with LA. They were certainly more efficient offensively yesterday, but and the Raiders have some offensive line injuries that are definitely worth investigating this week. Trent Brown got hurt yesterday, and that is an impact injury potentially for Oakland. But the Raiders have a home field edge, and you read in some of the post-game quotes, this is a team that thinks they can win this division. And I know that the Chargers have the history of slow starts and fast finishes. It seems to me like, again, my powering number is Oakland 2.5. Last night, Oakland was -1. Today, the Chargers are -1. And it feels to me like the markets are moving on the Chargers' past history as much as any other factor. We know the Chargers have gotten off to plenty of slow starts in the Phillip Rivers era and come on like a freight train down the stretch. Markets expecting more of the same this year, despite the fact that, again, based on my numbers, Oakland's every bit as good as LA, if not better.
Teddy, moving on to the Sunday card here, top of the card, 251, 252, Kansas City at Tennessee. Not seeing many lines out there at all, man. And, of course, due to the injury speculation here at the quarterback position for the Chiefs. But overall, man, any thoughts here, KC versus Tennessee?
Oh, no, we've got lines. I mean, there's a handful of lines. I'm seeing Kansas City 3.5 and Kansas City -4 at the few books that have them posted, and that tells me the markets expect Patrick Mahomes to play this week. I wouldn't be shocked to see Patrick Mahomes play this week either, although I will say two things for Kansas City. One is that I initially moved the Chiefs down 9.5 points with the Matt Moore to Patrick Mahomes drop-off. That was too much, and I was wrong about I didn't think that Moore would be capable of doing what he's done the last two games. He's been solid. He's been a capable replacement, and I didn't see that coming. So I've actually been upping my Chiefs power ratings each of the last 2 weeks. I have them a full field goal better now than I did when the injury first happened, based on the fact that Moore's played fairly well. So the differential between Mahomes and Moore is now, down under a touchdown for me. So look ahead line. There was no look ahead line here based on the Mahomes injury. My number is Tennessee -2.5 with Moore. Kansas City -3.5 with Mahomes. Chiefs defense played really well yesterday. They geared up for Dalvin Cook. I didn't think they had that in them, where they could shut down an elite running game, and they did. And of course, they were lucky that Cousins had a rough afternoon. But some of that was KC's defense. It was as good as I've seen their defense play this season. That may be a buy sign. Tennessee, not a whole lot of buy signs from what happened yesterday. And the on-field meltdown at the end of the game is a concern for me about this Titans team. They look really frustrated after yesterday's game. That does not seem like a particularly happy locker room. This line obviously will move significantly based on the Mahomes injury information.
And Teddy, I got a kind of a market question here, betting market question in the NFL. And you're right, we are seeing numbers at pretty much all the Vegas books and none of the offshore books. Is there a reason in your head for why that's happening right now?
I think the Vegas, no, just lie. But when you think about the offshore books, all right, they post a number. Their liability can be enormous, really fast. In Vegas, much as we say everything everything starts and comes in Vegas, the biggest bets don't get made in Vegas. You know what I mean? Not from the wise guys anyway. So, it's a story where the books are sometimes more willing to post a number because they won't get hit as hard as the offshore books will within a volume of bets coming in.
Interesting. Okay. Good stuff there, Teddy. We got Buffalo at Cleveland up next. Browns -2, -2.5, depending where you're shopping. 41 being the total here, Teddy.
Sorry, look ahead line here was Browns -2.5. My powering number, Browns -1.5. The markets are moving towards Cleveland today. And which way? We have to start with the Browns in this equation because Cleveland was so much better than Denver in so many different ways. And they were behind the entire game and got their asses kicked. And that was their circle the wagons must-win game. And I worry about the Browns moving forward. When you see the number of plays they left on the field yesterday, whether it's the missed tackles for Fant that results in a 75-yard touchdown and the guy who missed the tackles going off on Twitter afterwards and getting cut after the game, whether it's the pick six that Myles Garrett has in his hands and he drops it on the ground and then that turns into another Broncos score the other way, and on down the line. Mayfield missing receivers, the offensive line getting beat. It's like every play there was 10 guys doing the right thing and one guy did the wrong thing. It just happened over and over again. And that's been the Browns season. They were the far more talented team. They did not execute in the red zone. Baker Mayfield looked rough. The offensive line looked rough. The defense made mistakes at crucial times. And Freddie Kitchens doesn't know. Right now, he's in a world of hurt. He's like a handicapper that been losing for 2 months and doesn't know frickin' how to get out of it. That's Freddie Kitchens right now. So I would have to think we're going to see some Buffalo money. I have to think it. All that said, the Bills won and covered for me yesterday, and that was about the ugliest win and cover you'll ever see. In control of the game, partially, but I thought Buffalo was capable of covering a double-digit point spread against a bottom feeder, and they were. But following the game, whatever confidence level you had in the Bills as being, all right, this is a top 8 team in the NFL, they're 6-2. No. Buffalo just doesn't feel that way. Adrian Peterson ran the ball down their throats yesterday. The offense is hit or miss at any given drive. I'm fascinated to see where this line moves. And the early money has shown a little bit for Cleveland. There was a one book had a 3 and it moved down to 2.5, but now we're seeing 2.5 with juice. I know it's a Brown spot. Last week was a Brown spot. They're 2-6 and laying points against a 6-2 team. That tells you what, I don't know where the markets are moving on this one. And usually I could tell on a Monday morning, yeah, it's going this way, it's going that way. I know there were people that took 3 with Buffalo, but I wouldn't be surprised if, it's more circle the wagons for Cleveland and we see more wise guy Browns money, just like we saw last week.
He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. This is the NFL Opening Line Report podcast each and every Monday throughout football season here at sportsmemo.com. Also podcast form on the Apple iTunes podcast app. And we do have it simulcast on YouTube. So if you want to put a face with the voice, you can watch the video cast at YouTube, Sports Memo, and the Wager Talk YouTube, Teddy. We got Arizona at Tampa Bay. The Bucks laying 4 at home, 52.5 the total, Teddy.
Look headline here was Tampa -5.5. My powering number is Tampa a -4.5. I debated giving an emergency betting alert for this game. It's clear the money's coming on Arizona. There are still some fives out there with, you can catch Arizona +5. I'm not convinced that's a key number. I'm not convinced this is going to go down below 4.5. It might go to 4. I don't know that it's going to go any lower than that necessarily. So if you do like Arizona, you may want to get involved sooner. Tampa, pretty, again, another team. You read the post-game quotes, that's a frustrated football team. Back-to-back road games, they gave a lot. The effort was there. The execution at times was there. They fell apart in the fourth quarter yesterday. The defense completely gassed after the ball game. They were in man coverage all day, and they got burned all day, and that may be a problem moving forward this week against an Arizona team that can chuck it downfield. But again, when you're looking at the Cardinals in point spread ranges like this one against decent teams, it remains to be seen how decent Tampa is, but they're certainly not a Bengals squad or something like that Arizona's been able to handle. One would think that Tampa may have some success throwing the football downfield. I would not be surprised if this total, and we've seen some under money initially. I would not be surprised if we see some over money coming later in the week.
Teddy, another early kick here on Sunday. A fascinating handicap, couple different reasons. One, the Jets coming off of a loss to the Dolphins. And two, two teams who's got the home field advantage here. We're talking the New York Giants at the New York Jets. I say at in quotation marks, 2.5 being the number. That's the Giants laying, quote unquote, on the road, 43 being the total, Teddy.
Yeah, and I had a big debate as to what the home field edge, what the home field advantage should be here. Yeah. For the Jets. And I ended up, I think I used a point or a point and a half. I used like a half a home field edge. Look headline here with Jets -1.5. My powering number with that limited home field edge for the Jets was Giants -1.5. The markets are at 2.5 already, and they could 2 mostly. There's some 2.5s out there last night. It's mostly 2s today. Let's start with the concept. If the Giants look good tonight, they'll be 3-point field goal. It'll be a field goal favorite over the Jets. So if you like the Giants tonight, you may want to make 2 bets instead of 1. If they win the game, they'll be laying 3 here. 2 is we have to talk about what happened to the Jets yesterday. And it's a pretty clear bet on situation for them the next week. All right. The Jets are a 1-win team. They're not like this great team. They were laying a field goal on the road against a team that was a little bit worse than they were. and they got beat. The way they got beat was a little bit frustrating. The Jets secondary got burned all the game. And they often, everyone's blaming Darnold and Gase and all of that. When you lose 4 starters on your offensive line is not going to be as good. Your young quarterback's going to make mistakes. And that's what's happened to the Jets. And everyone's like, Adam Gase is an idiot. I mean, Twitter went insane with the Jets loss yesterday. It's just one loss. It's just one game. Now, this is one would think there'll be a hungry and focused team this week against the Giants. And we got to look at the injury report for the Jets. Because, again, if the offensive line gets healthier, they'll be capable. They were capable of beating Dallas when the offensive line was healthy. That was the only week where they had Darnold and a decent offensive line in play. All that being said, again, if the Giants look good tonight, they'll be a 3-point favorite tomorrow. So A and B are related. The Jets not likely to take a lot of public money this week. The wise guys might get there, but not the public.
Teddy, let's talk what we got. Atlanta at New Orleans up next, 51 being the total. Looks like the Saints laying 12-13, mostly 12.5s out there. This one in the Big Easy.
Yeah, look ahead line with Saints -13. My powering number is Saints -14.5. I got New Orleans as the number 2 team in the NFL right now. Just barely behind New England. So I'm a little bit, like I say, shocked that the money's that this line opened as short as it did. But there were 11s out there last night, 11.5s out there last night. So we have seen some Saints money. I would not be surprised if we see a little bit more Saints money. You have the bad team in the disappointing season off the bye week with a chance to get your head together a little bit. I really don't know what Atlanta brings to the table at this stage. The teams that have expectations and everything falls apart are not teams that I tend to be looking to bet on. That being said, off a bye, facing a divisional foe, et cetera, and a fat and happy divisional foe, one could anticipate Atlanta bringing whatever A game they have. And the markets are certainly anticipating that, with the number coming a little bit shorter than I thought that it would, certainly based on the look ahead last week or my powering numbers.
He's Teddy Covers, 57% in the NFL last 5 years running. That's 57%. Really good number there in the NFL. Also, hot out the gate in November. We got a special coupon code here for the podcast, NOV199. That's NOV as in November, NOV199 at checkout for his 30-day all-access package for just $199. That's huge savings there at sportsmemo.com, NOV199 at checkout, 30-day all-access with Teddy Covers. Teddy, we got Baltimore at Cincinnati up next, 47 being the total. Ravens laying 10-11 on the road.
Yeah, and I apologize. I think the look ahead was 10. My chicken scratch is not well written down here, but I'm pretty sure I wrote a 10 there. My powering number for Baltimore is only 8 on this game, and this is probably one that we should do a little doodly-oop emergency betting alert, because if you like, and I don't know that anyone out there is actually going to like Cincinnati, the wise guys are going to like Cincinnati this week. You see 10.5. I'm not seeing 10.5. I'm seeing 10s and less right now. The 9.5s are starting to pop for Cincinnati, and it's all a spot standpoint. This is a Ravens team coming off a huge win on national TV in a game they really geared up for. And you saw it right from the opening kick if you watched the game last night. I mean, Baltimore brought everything they had to that game. They bring that same level of intensity against a winless foe, winless divisional foe coming off a bye. From a spot standpoint, again, this is just like what the Jets were looking like when they were winless coming off a bye before they beat Dallas. A remarkably similar situation to that one. Perhaps, although this is a divisional game, but the wise guys will be taking Cincinnati plus the points from pure spot. Baltimore off the huge win, Bengals winless team off the bye. You can anticipate the 10s won't be around. I don't know. They'll be here tomorrow at this time.
Teddy, I mean, it just comes to the question, spot versus what? A winless team versus the Baltimore Ravens in that offense. I mean, that's a tough bet to actually get to the window and place your money, risk your money. I mean, is that something that you're looking to do?
The only way I bet this game is Cincinnati plus. All right, let me make that very clear. I do not lay 10 with Baltimore in this spot. And when we look at the Ravens' defensive numbers, okay, last week was last week. Look at the Ravens' defensive numbers. This is not an elite defense that you want to be laying double digits on the road with, not even close. So, yeah, Cincy or Pat. I mean, for me, it is absolutely Cincinnati or Pat. I don't know how they get there. I got to the window with the Jets against the Cowboys in that game because Darnold was coming back. For Cincinnati, we got no Darnold coming back. But I know that in my style of handicapping, the Baltimore asking the Ravens to win this game by 11 or more is not something I'm willing to do.
I like it, Teddy. Good stuff. Rotation number 263, 264, Carolina at Green Bay. We saw the Packers not looking too good yesterday. Now they're laying 5 in Lambeau, 47.5 the total.
Look headline here was 7. My powering numbers 5.5. The markets are at 5.5. I gotta think that, and the markets aren't showing it though. I mean, it looks like it's going down to 5 as opposed to up to 6. Green Bay was flat as a pancake yesterday. They didn't move the ball into Chargers territory until late. I mean, there was nothing. They just had nothing going on. The energy wasn't there. They've had a series of big games. The big win against the Lions on Monday night, or I forget if that was Sunday night or Monday night, whenever it was. And then the big win, KC at Arrowhead, and they didn't have any juice yesterday. It doesn't make them a bad team. Doesn't mean you freak out and way adjust your Packers power rating. It means that they had a flat spot and played a poor game. It's a good bounce back spot against a Panthers team that played a great game yesterday. That being said, we were talking about the Allens.
Yeah.
We have the Brandon Allen in Denver and Kyle Allen in Carolina, and you get them confused. Kyle's been okay. But it's certainly a Packers spot. I'm surprised that we've seen Panthers money. I would anticipate that we would see some Green Bay money before this week is done.
NFC North division battle here, Teddy. Detroit at Chicago. Bears laying 2.5 in Soldier Field. 42.5 the total.
The look headline here was Bears -3.5. My powering number is Bears -2. And I mean, this is a pick your poison game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago's lost 4 in a row. They didn't get a first down in the first half, did they? No, they didn't have a first down in that game against Philly. Maybe they got one before the 2-minute warning. I know they had at one point, I mean, the Bears offense was as inept gets yesterday. And it's very difficult for me to see. All right, well, all they have to do is fix this problem. All they have to do is fix that. The Jets, I say, okay, if you have a healthy offensive line, this offense may well be functional. With the Bears, it's not a health issue on the offensive line. The offensive line is bad, and the quarterback play is bad. And that's something that doesn't necessarily get corrected in easy fashion. And to make it worse, the defense is wearing down, because the offense has been so bad. The defense, those great defensive numbers that we saw from the Bears early in the season where no one could do anything against them. Not lately, 4 straight losses. Nagy is under fire and under pressure. This is a hard team for me to lay points with, which gives you then you get the Lions, who I'm not going to compare the Lions' performance yesterday to the Browns because nothing can compare to what the Browns did. I mean, the Browns had 400 chances and just botched them all. The Lions just would get to the Lions had the 2 red zone turnovers that were huge. Certainly for field goals, they should be scoring touchdowns. I mean, that the Lions do what the Lions have done for 30 years. Which and it's amazing. The coach has changed, but the execution level isn't there for Detroit. So I don't know where the line moves on this one. I really don't. But I don't know the threes are going to hold. If you find a 3, I know this. The markets aren't excited about the Chicago Bears right now. So if you still find a 3 with Detroit, that would be the way to look in terms of what you have to get done on a Monday morning. Most of the 3s are already gone. And whether it goes lower than 2.5, I don't know. But there are still a handful of 3s out there on the Bears. They will not be there, I wouldn't think, tomorrow at this time.
Teddy, let's hit the afternoon kickoffs on Sunday. We got the Miami Dolphins and an interesting handicap in themselves going on the road to Indianapolis. And we got the Colts laying doubles, seeing 10.5 or 11 at home, 44.5 the total, Teddy. Dolphins off of a win. You think they can start to make a streak out of this?
They already have a streak. You've been betting them every week.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Dolphins, what are they covering now? 4 in a row?
3 or 4.
Look at line here was Indy -15.5. My powering number is Indy -12. I have upgraded Miami every week, each of the last 4 weeks. And again, what they did yesterday was they looked like a football team, which they didn't look like for the first month of the season. Of course, now they got the win. It's exhale time for Miami. It's very difficult for me to envision the Dolphins coming and bringing an A game this week. They did, huge accomplishment, all of that. But, I mean, what Fitzpatrick did yesterday is what Fitzpatrick's going to keep doing. He's just chucking it around there, letting his receivers try to make plays. And in many ways, I'd rather have a quarterback that does that than a quarterback that is scared to throw it downfield and is always dinking and dunking and dinking and dunking, especially when I have a double-digit underdog. For Indy, the Jacoby Brissett injury could be an issue, and we could see Hoyer this week. The early reports on Brissett were questionable, so the markets are saying maybe not so much. And I mean, Hoyer was fine, as a serviceable backup, but he's the backup, and he's the backup for a reason. He made some bad mistakes yesterday, including the 96-yard pick six that was pretty it turned the entire game around for Indy. And then we do have the Colts coming off a loss in a game they probably should have won. But we also have the Vinatieri situation. And of course, Vinatieri's going to get blamed for everything yesterday. It was a holder, you learned that from Ace Ventura, laces out. And the laces were in on that final kick. But certainly the amount of support for Miami in the markets right now is greater than we've seen at any point this season. No surprise here if we continue to see Dolphins money over the course of the next 24 hours. If you like the Colts, you wait. If you like Miami, maybe you get down now.
Teddy covers 57% in the NFL. Last 5 years running, that's 57%. November, that's NOV199 at checkout for his 30-day all-access package at sportsmemo.com. Huge savings there. NOV199, checkout 30-day all-access NFL, college football, NBA, all three sports. Also, little college basketball starting just on Tuesday. So he'll be hitting that as well later in the month. We got one more afternoon game here, Teddy, and then the Sunday nighter and a quick look ahead at the Monday nighter to wrap up the pod. LA Rams at the Pittsburgh Steelers, seeing 44.5 is the total. Looks like the Rams laying 4 on the highway.
Yeah, I mean, I cashed a ticket with the Steelers yesterday. They were not the right side. They got there. But, again, 273 yards of offense, 4.5 yards per play. They were outrun for the ball game. They struggled in the red zone in the I mean, the whole game turned on the one Minka play. But that's what Pittsburgh capable of doing. Their defense has been making plays every single week. And even with, cluster injuries at running back, whatever, the markets were freaking out about running back injuries. Like Trey Edmonds can run, Jalen Samuels can run. It'll be just fine. And that duo did fine for the Steelers yesterday. Mason Rudolph has disappointed me a little bit. I thought Rudolph would be a little bit better. He does not look comfortable in the pocket. I'm not pleased with his decision-making in either of the markets. Obviously, look ahead line here was LA minus 3.5. My number shorter than that, because I've got the Rams down from the markets a little bit. My number here is only LA minus 2. I'm not high on the Rams, even coming out of the bye. Look, this Rams team hasn't been able to run the football at all. You say, wow, what's happening to Goff? Do we trust Goff against a good defense on the road, even with extra time to prepare? Not without a running game that's working, and it's not always easy to run on the Steelers these days. Indy had a really creative game plan yesterday. Very impressive. Reich impresses me every week. Even with that, the Steelers were able to keep the running game, and they didn't stop it, but they kept it in check. They may be able to do that here. Again, my number's shorter. The look ahead line here was shorter, and Pittsburgh's coming off a win, and all of a sudden now, they're live to make a run in the AFC North, and live 4-4. They can make the playoffs. And Tomlin saying, "I've never been more proud of a team for being 4-4." This number got bet up to 4, and then immediately there was a little bit of resistance there. I don't think it's going any higher.
Teddy, we get the Sunday nighter, Minnesota at Dallas. Looks like the Vikings catching 3 in Jerry's world, 47 the total. Of course, this is a little bit of a limited marketplace with the Cowboys playing tonight.
Yeah, look ahead line here was 3. My powering number is 3. The markets are at 3/2.5. It will be Dallas off a short week. It will be Dallas against a good defense. It will be Dallas off a Vikings team off a loss. Zimmer's been pretty good off a loss, so I would not be surprised if we see some market respect for Minnesota today before the game gets played. If the Cowboys look good, they'll go off 3. If the Cowboys look bad, they'll probably go off 2.5. The handful of books are already sitting at 2.5 right now, including some key books both here in Vegas and offshore.
Teddy, any quick thoughts here at the next week's Monday Nighter? Of course, we can hit it on next week's NFL opening line report, but seeing Seattle at San Francisco, 49ers minus 5.5 or minus 6, 45.5 the total at Levi's.
Yeah, look ahead line here was 5.5. My powering number is San Fran 7. Good game. Finally a good Monday night game that we're excited to see. There's been a fair bit of garbage on Monday night in recent weeks. Not that tonight's game is garbage, but yeah, exactly. Exactly. But this is one I'm fascinated. Anyhow, in terms of where this number is going to go, we've seen a little bit of Seahawks support already in the markets. One would anticipate that San Fran is going to continue to be a popular choice, especially with extra time to prepare and especially the fact they're undefeated. But the wise guys aren't going to go with the 49ers here. I don't think this line is going to I don't think it gets to 7. I think it's going to sit in this 6.5, 5.5 range between now and kickoff. Not a one that you have to rush out to get to the betting window in order to get a key number to capture.
Teddy covers 57% in the NFL. That's 193 and 146. Last 5 years running, 57% in the NFL, 75% all sports in November. And guys, the coupon code is NOV199 at checkout for his 30-day all-access package. NOV199 at checkout, 30-day all-access package, sportsmemo.com. Best of luck with your bets. Thanks for tuning in.